Talks have been ongoing between Iran and Oman for the last couple of weeks. They try to thrash out a deal as to how the actual running and overseeing of the Strait of Hormuz will look like in the weeks and months to come. We know now that the two sides are very close to a deal. The US has tried to project itself as a key player in those negotiations, but then we hear on Saturday from the Iranians that there is still various conditions that they want the US to fulfill before anything becomes a reality. They include the US halting military action against Iran and its regional proxies and allies, as well as withdrawing the naval blockade that the US has got in force there, as well as the air forces that have been involved in the thwarting of various attacks by Iran, but also, of course, been used to bomb Iran as well in the past. They also are demanding compensation for damage caused in this conflict, as well as the lifting of sanctions and the unfreezing of Iranian assets. Now, to be honest, most of those things were already agreed to by the United States in the MoU, the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed back in June. The difficulty was that the language then was quite broad and the implementation of those things was what was the problem. So in theory, the US had agreed to this, but there was a kind of standoff between who was going to do what first, with the US agreed to do various things by various timeframes if a final deal had been reached between Iran and the US, and that ultimately is still the sticking point here. That final deal between the two sides has not been agreed yet. And now the US is still in a bit of a sticky situation as well, because at the outset of this, and even just to Fox News on Saturday, the US said that they will not allow Iran to impose any tolls over any ships using the Strait of Hormuz. The initial deal that the Iranians have struck with the Omanis doesn't call for any tolls, but it does mention them in a wider context once we get to a second phase of the kind of reopening. It's also calling for ships in this new deal between the Iranians and the Omanis, if it goes ahead, for incoming ships to go via Iranian territorial waters and outgoing ships to go via the Omani territorial waters. And we'll see how the US feels about that. There's been no official word from the White House at the moment on this new proposal and these new words from the Iranians.